finish. Okay, family, we are on. I want to welcome you to the next episode of the Gospel of Cleasy. This is your boy D Freezy, aka Cleasy for Sheezy. Tonight, I am honored to be graced with the presence of a titan in the movement. You may have seen him on MSNBC. You may have seen him on CNN. You may have seen him on Fox News. He is also a guest contributor with the Final Call, as well as a former contributor to allhiphop.com. He also has a blog that we'll get more information on. But more than all those things, he is a activist, boots on the ground activist, a staple and an icon in the Durham, North Carolina community, the leader of the Black Messiah movement and the Militant Mind Militia, which we're going to talk more about. Everybody give it up for Minister Paul Scott.
Honored to be on your program, good brother.
Yes, sir. It's a pleasure and an honor always when I can sit and talk with you. So yeah, let's get right into it because you do so much. I usually try to keep it to an hour. We can go longer if we need to, because I run this. I'm the man on this table. So, but I usually try to keep it to an hour, and you do so much. So I want to get right into it. But thank you so much for everything you do, first and foremost, and thank you for joining us tonight. So we'll start on a lighter note and kind of work our way towards more serious topics. So you were a hip hop journalist and radio personality or something to that effect. Talk about that time in your life and how you started doing that.
Well, as far as radio, I back in 88, 89, which is many consider that, well, the conscious era of hip hop.
Right.
I was actually in radio.
Mm-hmm.
I was interning at Foxy.
Okay. Foxy 97.
107.
107.5. Right. Okay.
Yep. So I was interning at Foxy, and my job was to produce various shows.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the shows I put on was a make it or break it type show that used to come on Friday night. So back in the day, we used to seriously have to dig in the crates.
Right.
I mean, it was no programming at that point. Now, by late 89, it was.
Right.
But we used to program our own stuff. So my job as the little intern was to listen to every song that came in the mail out of these big crates.
Okay.
So, interesting story. As much as I'm anti-NWA, I was one of the first people to play Gangsta Gangsta on the radio.
Wow. How things change, don't they?
Yeah, but I know the program director, Spence, I thought it sounded good. I was 20 years old, maybe 21. And he comes barging in the studio and says, "Don't you ever play that on my station anymore." This was 1988, 89.
Right.
He said, "Don't you ever play that on my station anymore because the kids in New Orleans riding around killing each other off of that."
So that had an impact on you.
At the moment, I didn't care. I mean, to be honest, for real, brother.
Right.
To be honest, I just thought he was out of tune because in 88, 89, like so many people even today, it was a movement of consciousness. There was the Public Enemy, there was the X-Man, there was the
KRS-One.
KRS-One, yeah, Boogie Down Productions at the time.
Right.
And what most people don't admit and won't admit to, for many of us, we listened to Public Enemy and 2 Live Crew back to back.
That's true.
Without feeling the contradiction.
That's true. There really wasn't a contradiction, but
there was no contradiction. We listened to it back to back. So when I played Gangsta Gangsta for the first time, I felt no contradiction because in 88, 89, my depth of consciousness went no further than reading a couple of Malcolm X books.
Okay. So
and my medallion. and
Right.
my leather medallion.
Right, because everybody had the African medallion. So you weren't there, quote unquote, there yet.
In
As
88,
far
89, no, sir.
yeah, okay.
I was still drinking 40s in 88, 89.
Wow. Yeah, I never knew that, Paul.
As much as I fought against them, in
Right.
88, 89, I was listening to NWA, Two Live Crew, and drinking 40s. I
Okay.
wasn't no alcoholic.
Right. But you did what young people in hip hop culture did. That's what we did. I remember Ice Cube. Like that was one of the first places where rap went into marketing when Ice Cube was doing St. Ives, because at first he was talking about Old English in his raps, and then he stops. He said, "Stop, forget St. 8 Ball, because St. Ives is giving ends." You know what I mean? So that's when we started to see that hip hop could sell products. I guess you could say. I guess we saw it with Run DMC and My Adidas, but with liquor and stuff like that. And that just went on and on. So,
But I fought St. Ives.
you did.
That's the thing. I
Right.
fought St. Ives for all those years. I
While
was
you were
on a
drinking.
mission. I put letters in Vibe. I bogarted my way onto Tavis Smiley Show and called in and attacked St. Ives. I'm gonna tell you why I attacked St. Ives.
Tell me.
1990, and I'm hopping. I'm hopping, but
Yeah.
1992. Since you mentioned St. Ives,
Right.
I'm sitting watching Pump It Up on one of those video shows.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was either the Wu-Tang St. Ives or the King T St. Ives, one of those.
Right.
And that's when a light went off. This was before Coach Powell wrote the book, 40 Ounce Scandal.
Okay. I'm not
That
familiar
was
with
before
that.
then.
Mm-hmm.
So it popped in my head that was, something wrong with this picture.
Mm-hmm.
So at 92, I don't think I ever told the story before. You get an exclusive.
This is an exclusive.
They used to be so bold. They used to leave the direct 800 number for you to call St. Ives.
And to do what?
Talk to him.
Okay. What?
I called,
Mm-hmm. Order product or
headquarters.
okay.
I called
St. Ives.
St. Ives, 800 number.
Mm-hmm.
Asked to speak to the person in charge of the PR director, whoever. She punked me, man.
By doing what? By saying what?
Are you trying to threaten us? Yeah. This
Okay.
was my first. This is Paul in 92.
Right. But how can you threaten them? How can you threaten St. Ives?
It worked. I'm talking about that scare tactic.
Right.
You trying to threaten us? Da. I'm the head of the marketing of St. Ives Malt Liquor. But the thing was, at that point in 90, was it 91, not 92, early 92, I said, never again.
Why did you say that?
See, I didn't know. This is my first entry into activism.
Right.
I didn't know at that point that I could call an 800 number and speak directly to their leadership.
And voice your concerns.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared for that.
Okay.
I was prepared to maybe talk to somebody at the switch.
A secretary, and they take it down.
And they take my number. They were so bold. St. Ives, they patched me directly to leadership.
Wow.
I had nothing for them, bro.
Right.
This is prior to me studying Steve Coakley, prior to me studying college. I had nothing for him except, I'm sorry.
So do you think it's just that simple sometimes with the activist work, and if it's just that simple that you can get somebody, you probably can't do that today, but what do you think prevents? Well, we'll get into that. We're on hip hop. We'll get into that. But yeah, I know I want to hear your opinion on it. So let's stay with hip hop. I know you have referenced in multiple places an alleged secret meeting that changed hip hop, and I became aware of a federal policy through watching the Little Brother documentary, Made a Lower Watch. the Telecommunications Act of 1996 and how the effect that had on college radio and kind of caused quote unquote backpack rap, which was a iteration of conscious music, in my opinion, to go away because all the college radio stations were gobbled up by the big guys. Do you think there's any correlation between that secret meeting and the Telecommunications Act? Or let's talk about what the secret meeting is for people that may not know. Anyway, so you just the myth, right?
A lie? No, let me back up. You know, there was actually, I'm just keeping it, I can keep it real with you, Dale. I'm just talking.
Right. No, yeah, I want you to.
Like we talk about in person.
Right. Absolutely.
I'm just telling you the truth. First of all, the FCC thing, the first one really that impacted hip hop was 1988.
1980. Okay. And was that a Telecommunications Act as well, or do you?
That was when the FCC lessened their hold on what can be played on the radio, what can be shown on TV.
Okay, censorship. It was around censorship. Okay.
No, they lessened up on it.
Oh, right. So they loosened the regulations.
They loosened up the reins.
Okay.
Before you could, around 88 or 89, I think it was 88, you could begin to say those words that were previously banned on the radio.
Right.
1982, 83. Remember when Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5 came out with The Message?
Yeah.
They couldn't say piss.
Right. Yeah, it was like, so when did the parental guidance label, because that was around Luke Skywalker, right?
Really, it was really targeted towards, I would say, Luke Skywalker, but I would say more so Ice-T.
With the cop killer. Yeah.
Because, he got into it with Tipper Gore.
Okay, yeah.
Parent Advisory Committee or something like that. That was Al Gore's wife, Tipper Gore,
right?
Who actually her movement instituted those parental guidance stickers. And basically what the industry did in their wisdom was used it as a marketing tool.
That's right. Because if you got that sticker on there, more people gonna want to buy it because it's something they really not supposed to have, right?
And we wouldn't buy it unless it had the sticker.
We didn't want the radio edit.
We didn't want it. We wouldn't buy it unless it had the sticker on it.
So what does that say about us? What I mean, what does that say about us?
My people destroyed for lack of knowledge. Oh, but you asked me about the secret meeting.
Right. The secret meeting. The quote unquote alleged secret meeting that changed hip hop. It was a meeting of a whole bunch of record executives and label heads, and they had a meeting and decided that they would no longer promote conscious or African-centered hip hop at a high level. You
want me to send you the actual first press release when we get off there?
Yeah, please do. The people need to have it.
At that point, I was writing as a guest, even though I was writing once a month, technically a guest writer for All Hip Hop.
Right.
And one day I got this email. It was April of 2000 and was it 2009? Around that time. April. So I get this mysterious, maybe a couple of years later, maybe
2009.
Maybe a couple of years later.
Okay.
It was somewhere between 2009 and 2011.
Okay.
I think it was 2009. So I get this mysterious, I guess he was sending, whoever wrote it was sending it to all the hip hop writers. So I got one. And he had, he was like, this secret meeting took place back in 1990 and there was no attribution, no proof. So he asked me, was I going to do anything with it? I said, no. I said, it's not enough reference, not enough proof 30 years after the fact, or 20 years after the fact.
20 years at that point.
As a journalist, I can't do this.
No,
And
you gotta have evidence.
yeah, so he hit me back and said, well, I understand, but it really did happen. I'm like, no, as a journalist, I'm reading it. I'm like, it's not adding up.
Right.
It looks like a good story.
Right.
But, Baba Steve Koke said, name the names.
Exactly. And if you can't put people in the room that you can corroborate it with, then it's basically it's not factual. You can't assume it's a fact because nobody can corroborate. Yeah, it did sound
because you had an allegation that people could run with without the weight of being persecuted for naming names.
Yeah, and I know Special Ed was that earlier this year? He was on the fire because he went on Drink Champs and said NWA was the beginning of destruction or something to that effect. You said the same. But say again?
They said it.
NWA said it?
Yeah, Vibe magazine. Get that Vibe magazine. Look at those old Vibe magazine articles. The Vibe anthology of hip hop. Right. They admitted it. They said when everybody was doing the positive stuff, they decided to go with the gangster stuff to counter the Public Enemy. They said it. Dre said it.
Right. And I remember on real N-words don't die. Ren said, I'm not with that black, you know what, so I'm not finna yell that. Wasn't that on? I think that was on Real N-words don't die. I think that was the song. He said, I'm not with that black stuff, so I'm not finna yell that.
They used it as a marketing scheme. They were proud of it.
Yeah. And I remember Ice Cube on his first on America's Most Wanted, he said, you want to free Africa, I'll stare at you because we ain't got it too good in America. So they were, they definitely were counter to the pro-black movement, but I don't know that you can do both. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it worked for them as far as financially enriching them, but the effect on the community, just like so many other things. And the thing about them is none of them were gangsters except Easy. Dre wasn't a gangster. Q wasn't a gangster. Yellow wasn't a gangster. Ren, I don't know. But I know that Easy was really the only street guy. And the difference then and now to me is those guys in our era, I say our era, golden age, whatever you want to call it, they rapped about it, but they didn't live it. Our children today, they got to live it first and then rap about it. Like it's like they go and commit crimes and then go put it on wax. We've had that here in Durham. You know what I mean? And it's, and the gangster culture, like that's a part of America. We're fascinated by that and drawn to it. But what I wish people would focus on, like the gangster movies, if you look at the end, it never ends well. And it's not going to end well for you. So, that is something you live vicariously through it on screen and in music. You don't go and try to portray that. That's that, anybody that lives that kind of lifestyle. I mean, like, a Chief Keef or, somebody on the drill side, they on record unalive a lot of people, like in one song. You can't living in society and be doing that. That's just not but that's the path that hip hop took. So
Jerry Heller.
Say again?
Not to cut you off, but Jerry
Heller
in his book Ruthless, a memoir that he wrote, it's, to paraphrase, he said that he believes in all these conspiracy theories. He believes that the CIA, he started talking about the CIA put drugs in South Central LA. He said, if these conspiracy theories are true, then me and Eazy-E are just pawns in the game, to paraphrase. That's documented in the memoir, Rufus, a memoir by Jerry Heller.
That's a good point.
He all but admitted that if all these other conspiracies are true, then what me and Easy did were part of that same conspiracy.
Yeah, they just perpetuated what was already put in play, and it makes sense when you think about it like that, because we have documented proof, right? Gary Webb, Dark Alliance. documented proof that they were bringing huge amounts of cocaine, as depicted in the movie Snowfall, and other places. American made. It's the story's been told in a number of different places that our government was bringing drugs into the hood, and like they say, we don't own any poppy fields, we don't own airplanes. So how does it get there? And I heard one comedian say, "Why can't you find it until it's in a brother's pocket?"
You know what killed the story though?
What?
The head of the CIA rolled into South Central.
John Dutch.
Yep, Deutsch. Yeah.
John Deutsch.
He rolled into South Central.
I remember.
Gangster style.
Mm-hmm.
With an envoy of black on black trucks, walked right up into South Central LA in a town hall meeting and was basically like, and?
We'll look into it.
Yeah. So the weight was, I'm here. The person you have accused of doing X, Y, and Z, I just rolled up in your hood with my boys. Now, what you gonna do about it?
So let me ask you, what should have been done? What if you had it your way, what would you do?
I'm not going to answer. I'm gonna plead the fifth one, but you never know.
Right.
You never know unless you're in that situation.
Right. But it's about controlling the politics of our community, though, ain't it?
Yeah, that's what it's about.
Yeah, at its core. If we control the politics and the business of our community, then we can control what comes in and out.
But the bigger question is, even if before we get to the Deutsch, why did we make Rick Ross a hero? Why is he still a hero?
Yeah,
he's still looked upon today,
right,
in 2024 as a hero.
And we talking about freeway. We talking about freeway Rick Ross, not Rick Ross.
We're talking about freeway Rick Ross.
Right.
Even today, 2024, he's looked upon in our community as a hero. People aren't talking about the genocide. People aren't talking about the destruction. They're talking about, wow, he made $1 million a month. Really?
Yeah.
That's the focus. They
still
treat him even today, going across the country speaking, as a hero. And what's his rationale? I didn't know. Right. I just thought they were giving me $1 million a month. I didn't know the damage it was going to cause.
Right, which is lame. He saw it as soon as he stepped out of his house.
$1 million a month, bro.
Right.
But you can play what you call it, plausible denial.
Right. Yeah. Which is what the government does.
But that's what the government does. But that goes back to your question to me.
Right.
What does that say about us?
Yeah. Well, good. I'll segue, and you're familiar with this book, Addicted to White.
I'm familiar with that book because you gave me a couple of copies to pass out in the hood.
Right. And one of the things and one of the things Dr. Fox says is that we have been conditioned to focus on individualism instead of collectivism. And that's from my research, that's a capitalist European thought. Africans were more communal and more worried about the greater good than, and as Dr. John Heinrich Clarke said, they practice socialism before they called it socialism.
Let me throw a good one at you though.
Throw it.
Was Marcus Garvey communal? Was he capitalist?
I think he was both. And that's a good point, because when they say socialist, when people say socialist, they automatically associate it with communism. But there is a thing called democratic socialism. But Marcus Garvey with the UNIA, he had assets and he collected dues or what have you. So that would be a capitalist type behavior, but he was using it for his people. So I guess it's the intent of what you're using your resources or whatever you acquire for.
There's a word for that too.
What's that word, brother?
Compassionate capitalism.
Yeah. I think we operate under what they call laissez-faire laissez-faire capitalism. I'm a business major. I would have to, it's basically let the market sort itself out, if I'm not mistaken. But
Survival of the fittest.
Basically. But
let's be clear. I study Garvey. I study his teachings. I would consider myself politically aligned with the Garvey movement. But if he subscribed to black capitalism, it was what it was. We can't rewrite history.
Right. That's right.
He might have said, in his mind, he might have said that I'm going to do it for the good of my people, but capitalism was still the vehicle by which he was going to use it.
I agree with that statement.
We like to read, a lot of us, not us necessarily, but we read one side.
Mm-hmm.
We read race first, we read philosophy and opinions, but you also got to read Negroes with Hats.
Okay.
You also got to, which is a critical look at Garvey.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have a balanced. So
right.
And actually, I don't have anything against socialism because I'm a firm believer in material dialectics.
Okay, explain what that is.
Contradictions.
That's true. Yeah.
Scientifically speaking, they say that even though a table appears to be solid, there's still the molecules are still fighting each other within what appears to be solid. So anything that even appears to be solid, nothing is without contradictions. And our goal is to resolve the contradictions to reach a higher level of consciousness. Also, they believe in socialist doctrine that the seeds of destruction of capitalism lies within its own contradictions.
Mm-hmm. That's deep. That's a lot to unpack. Thank you for that. That's a jewel right there. I hope everybody's paying attention. Okay, so we talked about hip hop for a little bit. Let's talk about activism. So, let's talk about the Militant Mind Militia first. That's a black think tank. What is a think tank? That's for people that's not aware and are interested.
I know you know, and you're playing Angel's advocate, but see, everybody spooked out over Project 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Project 2025. But nobody's having the discussion about the Heritage Foundation. And like what you just asked me, what is a think tank?
Right.
Why aren't we asking these questions? Heritage Foundation isn't the only think tank. You got supposedly
Brookings. Yeah.
You got Brookings,
right.
Rand,
right.
the Manhattan Institute, where everybody should study.
Right.
These people put out projects, just policy, just like Project 2025, every day. To me, the leftists say, okay, we're going to pick one. Which one can we pick?
Right. We'll sensationalize. Let's put this on the.
This is good enough.
Right.
But they hire thousands of people every day.
Yeah.
That's all they do is put out white papers. That's all they do. So to find out what Dr. Asa Hilliard told us at least 15, 20 years ago, you want to figure out how a think tank operates, specifically the Heritage Foundation. There's a book by Lee Edwards called The Power of Ideas.
The Power of Ideas.
The Power of Ideas.
Okay.
Breaks down the history of the Heritage Foundation. We can't have that conversation about Project 2025 unless we study the Heritage Foundation. I'll give you another book. I think, don't quote me, but I think the guy who wrote his last name is Braun. Bruan, if I'm not mistaken. There's a book called Citizen Cores.
Okay.
Those two books will give you the foundation of the Heritage Foundation.
Yeah.
Coors actually funded the Heritage Foundation. That was Coors beer money.
Okay.
When
Paid
they
off
had
paid off
doing
Coors.
the NFL games, they got the train running through it. That's Heritage Foundation. The
Okay.
same Coors family who
Mhm.
one of the brothers said, or one of the sons said that the best thing to happen to black people was for us to take them out of Africa. Same company.
Yeah, and the Ford Foundation. That's another one, right? So are they a think tank, or are they just okay?
Ford Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation. I'm sure they have a think tank component,
Right.
but they are philanthropic endeavors.
Okay. So
Ford
philanthropy.
Foundation.
Right.
Ford Foundation is an experiment. Their thing is to really promote business.
Mm-hmm.
What's the best way to promote business by doing funding the right and the left?
That's
Which
right.
is the best way to promote business? So they build on theories. We're going to fund this as an experiment. We're going to fund that as an
I see what
experiment.
you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Rockefeller money. I'm reading this great book that I do not have with me.
Yeah.
Because I'm just going off the dome. And I was like, I'm talking to Dale, and we're going to be all over the place. So I would have had to have all my books. But I'm reading this book now about how the Rockefellers actually funded the National Urban League.
I can
That's
believe it.
Rockefeller money.
I can believe it.
Now, the Stop the Violence movement,
Mm-hmm.
that money that it generated actually went through the National Urban League.
You talking about KRS-One's the record? It went through Ford Foundation or
No,
Rockefeller?
Urban League.
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't, and that's a question I had. I got written down. So let me ask you this: since you brought up the National Urban League, we're going to talk about Durham later, but on a national level, who speaks for the issues of black people? In your opinion, is it the Urban League? Is it the NAACP? Is it the Congressional Black Caucus? Because this is a question I have myself that I don't know the answer to. Who speaks for us and lobby? Well, nobody lobbies, but who speaks on our behalf?
We do.
Who is we?
Me and you and local activists, because on a national level, outside of the Nation of Islam, there has not really been an autonomous organization to speak for black people since Garvey. And Garvey actually was founded with white folks' money out Jamaica.
Right.
But because of the strength of the movement, we could consider Garvey somewhat autonomous.
Mm-hmm.
Every other organization has basically been white funded. NAACP.
Facts. Founding members all non-Nubians. Yeah, most of them except Du Bois and Ida B. Wells. Right? Was it Ida B.
She
Wells
was
or
with Niagara movement. Not sure she crossed over to NAACP. I might be wrong though.
Yeah, I think it was her and Du Bois was the only two. And everybody else was non-Nubian. Yeah. And kind of building on that, we're going to talk about Durham. I'm reading City of Courts by Mike Davis. I know you're familiar with that book.
Yeah.
One of the things he says in there is that at the local level, politics are controlled by private money. Private. No, at the municipal level.
Okay.
Private. I can forget how did he say private? Not private equity. He said private capital controls local politics. I think is how he said it. So, talking about Durham, let's go ahead and talk about Durham. I'm not doing it in the order I planned, but that's okay. So, Durham is a city of 290, let's say 292,000 people.
Oh, before we go there, can I mention one more thing about the Rockefeller Foundation?
Go for it.
If you're like me, most people don't read the epilogue of books.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have a bad habit, but what broke me out of that was reading the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Mm-hmm.
When a mysterious director of a major foundation asked Alex Haley how Malcolm was getting his money shortly before he was assassinated.
Mm-hmm. What page is that on? What page is that on in the autobiography of Malcolm?
It's 419, around that age. Okay. But it's in the epilogue.
Okay.
The leader of a foundation who was unnamed, right, shortly before Malcolm was assassinated, asked Alex Haley,
right,
where he was getting his money from to travel overseas.
And because Alex Haley was writing autobiography. Right. But he won't name who it was or what foundation.
Nope.
Right.
But it got to be either Ford or Rockefeller. It got to be one of those two.
Yeah.
Or old boy who used to fund Kennedy.
Now that's not.
See, we don't talk about the Tuconic Foundation.
Stephen Currier.
Stephen Currier. Nobody talks about him. When Malcolm
we don't really know who he is. We don't. We have no in the lexicon. We have no idea he even existed.
And he kept it that way. That was Kennedy money. And that was the money that was used in 1961 to fund the voters' rights campaign.
Okay.
Currier died. Him and his wife died mysteriously in an airplane crash. His wife was tied to one of those bankers in Europe.
Okay.
When Malcolm talked about the Big Six, they were funded by Stephen Currier. The reason why many black folks are Democrats today is because during the voters' rights campaign, they intertwined that to get Kennedy elected and the Democratic Party, funded by the Tuconic Foundation, Stephen Currier.
Yeah, because Kennedy won by a very small margin. He won by a very small margin, and some of it was Chicago, and that went into some of the speculation around who actually was involved in his untimely death. And I remember the speech where Malcolm said, the big six, they met and got what did they get, $1 million? Or I forget the amount, but I don't know if they were giving $1 million apiece.
I think it was $1 million apiece. It's in message to the grassroots. See, a lot of times we listen to the first part. It's the last 10 minutes of message to the grassroots.
Malcolm X speech, message to the grassroots. Yeah. Okay. All right. So moving on to Durham. So Durham is a little less than 300,000 people, 292,000, 36%, which is about 100, a little over 100,000 of those people are black. And thinking about what Dr. Amos Wilson said, we are not minorities in the places we live in. How do we control the politics of our city and get them addressed?
Boots on the ground. Everything has to be, even what we do on social media, there has to be a boots on the ground component. There has to be a boots on the ground component to reach the masses of our people.
Okay.
There has to be that connection there. Everybody goes knocking on the doors. The Jehovah's Witness go knock on the doors. People knock on the doors now. Various political parties.
They do.
Those who present a black nationalist agenda have to go knocking on doors, being in the hood, talking to people, doing political education. All these people are saying, vote, 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 vote. Nobody is saying, okay, we need to get political education classes in the hood. It starts with political education. people are saying, well, Kamala doesn't have, she's not talking about black issues. But I guarantee, not for or against, I'm independent, I'm a black nationalist.
Speak your piece, yeah.
But I guarantee if you ask most of these people to break down what the black agenda is, they couldn't tell you.
No.
Because that comes with study and political education.
Right.
You can't talk black agenda unless you say political education. And that has to be boots on the ground, door to door, in the hood. You asked me earlier and about the militant mind militia.
Mm-hmm.
Last 2 years ago, we adopted one neighborhood. I adopted one neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
Bragtown.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, let me, in this area, because there's shooting over there,
Mm-hmm.
let me put 2,000 books. People like yourself and others have donated books.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put 2,000 books in that one hood, probably about 3,000 now.
Right.
So started passing out books. Then about the whole hood had books.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, now that we had the books, the youth came to me and like, well, brother, you giving out the books. We need you to start an organization. I said, no, I already got the Black Messiah movement, now the Black Messiah ministry.
Mm-hmm.
Because, Malcolm, he had the secular and he had the religious. He
Mm-hmm.
had the Organization of African American Unity, which was political. Then he had Muslim Mosque Incorporated,
which was religious.
Yeah, which were theoretically two different organizations.
Right.
So I broke it up that way.
Right.
But with the Black Hoodie Brigade, so I was talking to you. I said, okay, what I'll do, I'll set up something called the Black Hoodie Brigade.
Mm-hmm.
And since all y'all got on black hoodies, we're going to supply you all with beads, wristbands, and y'all already got black hoodies. And the summer's going to be black t-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
And your only goal is, no matter what level of consciousness you are right now, read one book, teach what you learned in that one book, and repeat to somebody else and repeat the process. That was the Black Hoodie Brigade, which is the formal founding is October 25th, 2023 out of Bragtown. So we started putting up red, black, and green flags around Bragtown. Started passing out, t-shirts with red, black, and green. Everybody in the whole hood has wristbands, t-shirts for free, along with the books. Now, August 1st, earlier this month.
Mm-hmm. Black August,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Everything, I'm trying to align it with history.
Right.
August 1st, the Black Hoodie Brigade has no leader. You can't stop black folks in hoodies with no leader. All they doing is spreading knowledge.
Right.
But the problem is, like a brother was talking to me on the block. He said, brother, got to be a leader. Our people are like sheep. And scripturally speaking, the reason why the symbolism of the sheep is used is because they don't have a sense of direction.
Mm.
As they say, easy to be led the wrong way, hard to be led the right way.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a sense of direction. So the reason why the sheep is used as a symbol in the scripture is because sheep don't have a good sense of direction.
And so they need a good shepherd.
So
and there's some truth to that. There's some truth to that. Just be honest.
Because if you don't organize the people, somebody else will.
Right. For their purpose.
For their purpose.
Yeah.
Because once you motivate the people, you can't really leave them out there without a direction.
No, because somebody's going to come along. Yeah.
Certain groups in the community are known to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
So
yeah, they definitely are.
yeah, so
And
they will,
we can name the names.
yeah. So they will take your movement, put their brand on it, and keep it moving. So
Yeah.
I say with the Militant Mind militia, it's something actually we did, a couple of activists did back in 2010. We did
Okay.
it for a year.
Hmm.
And we basically tried to get hip hop on the right path, but that only lasted 1 year.
Hmm.
So now in 2024, I said, I want to keep the Black Hoodie Brigade without a leader. I
Okay.
said it doesn't have a leader. It's not going to have a leader, but using the same uniform, using the same principles of knowledge being a weapon or weaponizing knowledge. We need a boots on the ground think tank that would lead by example, not to be leaders, but to lead by example, a boots on the ground think tank, which is why we came up with the Militant Mind militia.
Okay. So boots on the ground is to gain a critical mass or a core. Then once you gain that core, you provide them with political education. And then the next step is to political action.
Exactly. There has to be direction because you can put up all the red, black, and green. This is what the streets told me.
Hmm.
Brother, you can pass out all these books, but if you don't direct the people how to use the knowledge, what's it for?
That's right. Knowledge is meant to be applied.
Yeah. So even in my generation, we had all the knowledge, but we didn't really have. People were saying, the elders said, "Get knowledge, get knowledge, get knowledge," but they really didn't tell us what to do with it.
That's true. That's true.
So it became the boogeyman. So even in 2024, we still got a whisper about movements. See, that's why Black Lives Matter and all those movements exploded. They were on Front Street. This is us. This is what we do. We're in the community. We're loud. We're standing on business. But we were trained to whisper.
Right.
We was going to talk about this in the bookstore.
Right.
So our movement was combined with a bunch of smart people sitting around a bookstore discussing pyramids and things of that nature. Black Lives Matter came along and said, nah, we in the streets.
Right.
Using the same techniques, same we talked about behind closed doors, they brought it on Front Street. So the people have no connection between the Black nationalist movement and what's happening today.
Got you. Okay, so let me ask you a question, and you answer however you feel you need to. What is your opinion on the leadership of the political leadership of Durham and how it pertains to the Black population?
Disconnected from the hood.
Right. Even though we have several members of our community on our city council and as county commissioners, we have at least one Commissioner Houghton, right? You, is she still a commissioner or no?
Until December.
Okay. But we have several members of the Durham city council that are Black, and I'm gonna say my part. I saw our illustrious mayor during the Democratic National Convention, and my reports I got said he talked a lot about how great Durham is and how he has been afforded opportunities with his businesses, but he fell short when it came to the problems we face and how we're going to address them. So I'm not impressed.
I have invited him to the hood.
I remember you saying that. You talked to him, yeah.
I've invited him to Bragtown.
Has he shown up?
No. He's busy. But and this was before he was elected. But I understand you got to make Durham look good, and that's part of it. But I just want to go on record. The invitation was there. I'm inviting all the politicians. You can't, because the thing they try to say is, well, just a bunch of loud white liberals show up and they ain't really in the hood. Okay, let me punch the buttons for you. I'm in the hood 6 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
I invite you to come see for yourself. So far, the only politician that has come twice and donated to make the T-shirts and the books possible were Alexandra Valderas,
From the
former
school
board member.
Right. Former. She's not even a politician now, is she?
Nah.
Right.
I mean,
But she's
still going out. She even after she gave her seat, she
no,
came
yeah.
down the
It's
hood about
respect
a
to
month.
her. Yeah, respect to her. Respect to her. But
No, not
so
even a month. Yeah, about a month ago, she was still coming out of the hood, but she gave up her seat.
right.
So I would say there's a disconnect,
Mm-hmm.
and their excuse is going to be, well, we're not organized, we don't go. And there's some truth to that.
It is.
There is some truth to that because we have to demand certain things, and that goes back to political education.
Right.
Sometimes we do not put pressure on our elected officials, and they don't feel the need to acquiesce because we have not put any pressure on them. You know, they say, hold me accountable,
Right.
but then they don't want to be held accountable once they get in that seat.
Right. Well, that's when you vote against them in the next election, and you nailed it in a nutshell. The majority of the frustration I see in our community with politics is because of what you just said. We don't make our voice heard, and we definitely don't make our voice heard on the front end. We just sit back and say, you know, either one. Well, this is what I hear. It don't matter. It's going to be the same thing. And if you don't say anything or demand anything, you're absolutely right. But as citizens and taxpayers, we and members of this community, we have a right. They are called public servants. They are supposed to serve the public. So if we have issues, that's who we supposed to call, and they supposed to pick the phone up or call us back.
At least go through the motion.
Right.
I mean,
Right. Make it look good.
Make it look good. At least make the attempt. Don't abort the process before it happens.
Right. And in
But
that vein, let me just say, for the record, as the chairman of the Black Liberation Action Committee, I delivered a letter to the Durham City Council at the beginning of this year. I asked for three things. The first thing I asked for was to make part of the Old Wheels amusement park into a studio / performance art space for kids that are into music. And my thinking is we can get them, we got to get them first, right? Then we can start to shape behaviors because we can put criteria down that they have to follow in order to use it. That's you can't be in here high and drunk. You can't have weapons. There's no fighting. If they want to use it bad enough, they will acquiesce. I think we already, I mean, the city has it. Why not? I haven't received a response on that one. The second thing I asked for was to partner with the tech giants that operate in our city, Oracle, Google, Meta, Red Hat, and create a pathway to these certificates for black children, because I'm most concerned. I'm concerned with black people first, and let's just be clear about that. And make Durham known for black tech. Make it a black tech hub. We we have the space, and I'm sure there's money to get computers. And if those children get these certificates, these Google certificates and stuff, they can get a job starting out in the high five figures, if not six, without a college degree. The third thing I asked for them to do is look at reparations in the way that San Francisco, California, and Evanston, Illinois is. Evanston, Illinois is doing some exciting things around housing, which is a crisis nationwide. It's definitely a crisis in Durham. Dealing with reparations. I haven't received a response on any of those. So I just want to say right here, I'm gonna have to get an answer.
But here's the thing, brother, and this is what the white liberal groups do. They not only write letters, they're going to organize people to go down to the meetings and speak.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, don't get me wrong. You got to have documentation. You got to write the letters. You got to send the email. But you also got to organize 10, 20 people to go down to City Hall if you want them to take you serious and speak on the agenda. Go to the work sessions. Go to the city councilman. You got to be present. It can't be like
be in their face.
You got to be in their face constantly. So they hear you a lot better if you bring 10, 20 people at the work session or at the city council meeting. It doesn't take a lot of people. It was only a handful, and the politicians will tell you, it's only probably 10 people that got Durham all those pickleball courts. But they were organized and they were present.
And consistent.
Yeah. We are not organized and we're not present. The city council members meetings twice a month. How many people go to city council meetings? Their work sessions twice a month. How many people go to work sessions? You got to be in those spaces to be heard, or roll up at the meetings where they are. They respect numbers.
Mm-hmm.
They respect numbers. If they don't see the number, they'll read the email. But if they don't think there's anything behind,
that's just Dale. That's just Dale. It's just Dale again. Just ignore him. He'll go away. Yeah. I hear you.
I mean, like I tell people, you can be a one-man movement, but that even means it has to be more constant. It got to be constant. One person sitting in the meeting, constant one person speaking, constant hitting Twitter, constant hitting Facebook. Every day it got to be done.
Right.
Because if not, they're so used to us as a people throwing something out there and just say, okay, I did it and walk away. They're assuming they're not used to consistency, just hitting it. Every meeting they're at, show up in their face. I went to a town hall meeting last Thursday night.
I saw that. Yeah. I missed it. Yeah. I think so. Cheryl told me about it, but I got to put stuff on the calendar. I won't remember.
Yeah, but you got to keep hitting them and hitting them, be in their faces consistently.
Yeah.
And get them on record.
That's it. Get them on record. And so we got a lot of organizations in the Black community already doing all kinds of great work. Your organization, mine, and some others that I'm aware of that I won't name. But no disrespect, I'm just not gonna name them because they didn't authorize me to. But how can we, with all the organizations that we have in place, come to, as they say in the church, be on one accord for issues that affect us across our community? How can we synthesize politically? How can we, and I'm just talking about Durham because we can't do it nationally or internationally until we do it locally. What is the principle that we could organize around, in your opinion?
I think first of all, we have to take a proper assessment of what we're dealing with, because for me personally, I try to be transparent. I've learned that over the years, it's best to be transparent with what you're working with, because whatever I might say, I ain't fooling them. They're going to already reduce it to the lowest compound anyway.
Facts.
So with the Black Messiah ministry, that's just a ministry. That's a ministry.
Mm-hmm.
The Black Hoodie Brigade, that's an unknown number, and there's no leader, so it's really no way to calculate that. You can see the whole hood wearing red, black, and green armbands, but how many members? I don't know. I know I passed out 2,000-3,000 books, and when you're dealing with the militant mob militia, it's just me right now and a handful of sisters.
Right.
So we have to be clear on exactly what we're working with.
Right.
Because it really just takes a few people.
And that's my thing. So if like you said, they respect numbers, and if you go up there with just a few people and you organize, then you can get some stuff done. And there's 100,000 of us in Durham. If we go up there with half of that, we can get anything we want.
But we gotta go get them though.
Right. But we got to get 50,000 that's willing to move when it's time to move.
Now I would say you got to knock on doors. I'm in the hood 6 days a week. You got to build relationships with people consistently because our people have been let down so many times.
That's a fact.
People say they're gonna do one thing one day, you don't see them anymore until election time, whatever. So right. You're gonna have it takes a consistent effort to reach people. I got a theory that says it's going to take 48 hours of 48 man hours to even get people to talk to you. Before you even begin to see a change, it's going to take 48 hours. Now, how you spread out that 48 hours, you can try to do 48 hours in 1 week. You can try to do 48 hours in a month. You can try to do 48 hours in 6 months, but it's going to take, from my experience, 48 man hours, boots on the ground before you even see a change. Consistently.
Right.
It's going to take 48 hours. As far as Bragtown, in the last 2 years, I put in more than 1,000 boots on the ground hours. It takes that. We have 100,000 people, African people, or as you say, Nubian people in Durham. We can't get 20 people in our movements. We can't get 30 people in our movements.
Right.
We can't get 5 consistent people in uniform because that's all our people need to see. If they see 5 consistent people, this is the director of, this is the minister of information, this is the director of education, this is the director of politics. Those 5 people will gather and motivate 10 people. But it's just hard to find those 5 people to be consistent in uniform.
Yeah.
On Front Street.
Right. Right. Well, we coming up on, we had an hour. Before I end, I want you to give your information on how people can get up with you. But before we do that, I want to say that I want to recognize you for, and I know you don't do it for credit, you don't do it for attention, but I just want to recognize you for being exactly what you say, what you're saying to us tonight. You're on the ground doing the work. You're relentless, and it's awe inspiring. And you're a titan. I put you in, the category where anybody you can name, Asa Hilliard, Ishmael, I can't never say his name, but you know who I'm talking about. To me, that's who you are. And I'll just give my personal story. I first became aware of you. I saw you on the news talking about education for our children. And I took it upon myself to come and seek you out. And you were gracious enough to let me into your circle. And I've been learning from you ever since. And I just want to say that for the record that, nobody can say anything bad about you to me.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, for sure. So tell people how to get involved with you if they want to get in contact with you, if they have questions about anything related to what we've spoken about tonight. Just give your information.
Thank you, brother. You can meet me in the hood. Ideally, you can meet me in the hood. Right. Because I figure if somebody is going to come out in the hood, they're serious. Okay. But other than that, that's really all where I want to deal with people is in the hood. But other than that, on Mondays, I'm at a location and I'm not going to put out the location, but it's in the hood. If you want to meet me on Mondays at 6 o'clock, I got a central location I'm at every Monday at 6 o'clock. That's not where you usually see me. Okay. And other than that, you can hit me on social media. All my social media is under Black Messiah Movement. Okay. I'm still under Black Messiah Movement. And I recently set up a page for the Black Hoodie Brigade. Okay. But yeah, the best place to meet me is in the hood. I can show you better than I can tell you.
All right. Well, I think that's as good a note to end on as any. I'll let you get on with your evening. But again, thank you, brother. We appreciate you and respect you. So peace and thanks again. We'll talk to you on the next episode.
I'm honored, brother. Appreciate you.